The ration card had already been used. Lee Sung-hoon stopped. He looked at the card in his palm again. This month's card. March. Bottom left corner. A small square stamp. The date. March 15th. 3 days ago. His father had died 2 months ago. The counter clerk extended her hand. You brought this month's card? He could not hand it over. His hand went still. The clerk looked up. Is something wrong? He said just a moment. And stepped out of the line. Outside the distribution center the air was sharp. Mid-March, and winter was still refusing to leave. The sky sat low and gray, thick with cloud. To the right of the building a narrow alley continued between old cement walls. The texture was rough and uneven. At the base of the walls snow that had not melted yet remained in frozen strips. He moved into the alley, pressed his back against the wall, and looked down at the card. The stamp ink had not bled at the edges. Clear and defined. Recently applied. Someone had carried this card here 3 days ago. Stood in line. Placed it on the counter. Received the stamp. Collected the ration and left. Someone had used his dead father's ration card. He stayed against the wall for a long time without moving. His hands went cold inside his gloves. Wind pushed through the alley. Frozen snow lifted off the ground and struck his ankles. Somewhere distant a loudspeaker was broadcasting. It came and went with the direction of the wind. He could not make out the words. His father, Lee Chong-bok, was 63. A long-standing lung condition. Every winter his condition worsened. As far back as Sung-hoon could remember his father had spent winters coughing. It had been that way since he was a child. By October each year his mother would begin preparing medicine. His father would take it and walk to his room without a word. It was an annual routine. His father was someone who got sick in winter and recovered by spring. Last autumn it became noticeably worse. The coughing started in October, far earlier than usual. They visited the local physician in November. The physician said little and gave medication. In December there was a dangerous point. 3 days bedridden. His mother carried meals to the room. Sung-hoon took days from work to stay nearby. On the 3rd day his father improved slightly, ate a small amount, coughed less. Sung-hoon felt relief. He thought his father was getting better. He believed spring would set things right. But in early January, the first week of the new year, before dawn, his mother's voice woke him. When he arrived his father was already cold. Lying beside his mother, quietly. The night before, Sung-hoon had stayed overnight in a neighboring village for work. That night had stayed with him for 2 months. His mother said nothing about it. She said it was fine. It remained anyway. The funeral was held. Neighbors came. Distant relatives came. His mother stayed in her room for 3 days. Sung-hoon handled everything. He prepared food. He received guests. He managed the proceedings. When it was finished he finally sat down. Even then no tears came. Too much had needed doing. Or perhaps his father had lived so quietly and left so quietly. That understanding arrived before grief. He could not say. His father was a man of few words. Not warm, but not frightening. Simply quiet. He woke in the morning, went to the fields, came home in the evening. He asked Sung-hoon nothing about school, nothing about where he had been. Yet he was not indifferent. When Sung-hoon came home late, a light was on in the kitchen. When Sung-hoon was sick, his father had already visited the physician by morning. That was his way. Action rather than words. Quietly and without announcement. 2 months had passed since the funeral. Life continued. He looked after his mother. He worked. His father's room remained untouched. His mother said she was not ready to clear it. Sung-hoon did not press her. The belongings stayed as they were. An old padded coat, gloves, a wooden comb worn at one end, an old calendar, a book with a battered cover. Then yesterday, his mother asked him to sort through the storage room. She also asked him to look through the drawer in his father's room. Take out anything useful, she said. Throw away what should be thrown. When he opened the drawer he found a worn envelope tucked between old clothing. Inside the envelope was a ration card. This month's card. He almost dismissed it without thought. Administrative delay, he told himself. It sometimes happened that ration cards continued to be issued after a death. He would return it. That was why he had come today. But the card had already been stamped. He came back into the distribution center. The line was shorter now. 3 people. When his turn came, he handed the card to the clerk. She received it, looked at the stamp, stopped. This card has already been collected. He said, I did not collect it. She looked at him. He said, the person named on this card passed away 2 months ago. He was my father. I did not collect anything. The clerk spoke quietly to the colleague beside her. That colleague pulled out a ledger. Both examined it briefly. A silence passed over the counter. The clerk said, there is a signature in the collection confirmation field. He said, please show me. She turned the ledger toward him. He looked at the signature line. A name written in characters. Lee Chong-bok, his father's name. The strokes were clear and confident. Written without hesitation. It was the handwriting of someone who had written that name many times before. His jaw went rigid. Someone knew his father's name. Someone knew his father's handwriting well, enough to reproduce it without a tremor. This was a person who had known his father closely and for a long time. The clerk said, this matter requires the duty officer. We cannot process it today. Please return tomorrow. He walked out. The village alley was quiet. A worn lamppost swayed in the wind. He walked home. Frozen snow crumbled under his feet. Who? Someone who knew his father's name. Who knew his signature? Who knew the layout of the house? Who knew where the drawer was? Who knew what hours his mother spent away from home? Someone from this village, a neighbor, or someone who had been close to his father for many years. When he arrived home, his mother was in the kitchen. He sat down beside her. Mother, father's ration card. This month's. She stopped what she was doing. He said it was in the drawer. There was a collection stamp on it. 3 days ago. She looked at him. Her eyes were quiet, not surprised, simply listening. He asked, was it you? She said, number. He asked, then who? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I didn't know. I knew the card was in the drawer. I didn't know there was a stamp on it. He asked, has anyone come to the house recently? She thought. Then she said, Park came. Last week. Your father's friend. He asked, what for? She said, just to visit. He said he missed your father. He had tea and left. He asked, did he go into the room? She paused. He may have passed through on the way to the bathroom. I wasn't beside him the whole time. He said nothing more. He went to his father's room and opened the drawer. Directly above where the ration card had been sat an old envelope. He had seen it yesterday and passed over it. He had taken only the ration card. He picked it up. There was writing on the outside. Not his father's handwriting. A different hand. For Sung Hoon. He opened it. A single sheet of paper. Written clearly in pen. I used the ration card. I am sorry. There were circumstances. Those circumstances should not reach you. Your father knew. Your father asked me to do this. I said I would use 1 month's worth after he was gone. He said to go ahead. This is the last time. There will be no more. Do not hold this against your father. Your father was not a bad person. Neither am I. No signature. He read it once and then again. Snow had begun outside. Light, fine flakes. The glass in his father's window was old, frosted in patches. Snowflakes touched the glass and melted. They left traces of water and vanished. The gray alley outside was beginning to be covered in white. His father had known. His father had permitted it. He had arranged for this person to use 1 month's worth after his death. He had known how difficult this person's situation was. He had permitted it even while surviving December by a narrow margin. Even while weakening, while facing the new year with a failing body, he had been thinking of this. Why had his father said nothing? Because telling Sung Hoon would have drawn him in. His father did not want that. So he left the envelope in that spot. In a place where Sung Hoon could find it or not. Where knowing was a choice. That too was his father's way. He placed the note back in the envelope and returned it to the drawer. Park was his father's oldest friend. They had known each other since they were young men. Park had always been present during the hard times. Sung-hoon remembered seeing him around the house since childhood. A quiet person, similar to his father in that way. The two of them could sit together and say almost nothing. As a child, Sung-hoon thought that was strange. Later he understood it as the manner of people who had known each other long enough to require no words. Park's wife had been ill this winter. The medicine costs had been heavy. What 1 month's ration had covered in that house, Sung-hoon could not know. His father had known, and so he permitted it. Would you have gone to confront that person? Or would you have kept your father's decision as he left it? If this story stayed with you, the next one begins here too.